Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is winter time. We are finally back in the shop. Today we're going to get started on the Bulldozer transmission. Pick up right where we left off. We're going to bring you guys along. As I said, we are in the shop. We have all of our heaters hooked up. They continue to work flawlessly. We have the waste oil heater hooked up on the outside of the building. And Charles has installed a small box fan on low up in the rafters, trying to push some of the heat back down. It appears to be working excellent. It's not really cold out yet. It's about 40 degrees, but we are maintaining 70 degrees with the waste oil heater pumping in right through the door there, and one of our radiant heaters on low. So that's pretty awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and get started and give you guys a refresher on the innards of the transmission. Quick recap on the transmission. We have our shaft 90% pulled, and we were just getting ready to start sliding gears off when I found this little lip or wire has been machined into the shaft where this gear was rubbing the splines here. So I'm hoping this little bitty belt sander, I've had this thing a year and never took it out of the box. I'm hoping it will delete the little wire and we can proceed pulling these gears off of the spline shaft. We'll bring you guys along. I believe we have the splines ground down sufficiently now. We're about to find out together. I apologize, it's just so big a hole, so hopefully I'm not blocking the shot. Oh boy. We still have just so hard to see in there. We have come off about 1/8 of an inch off of the splines, so that's a good thing. We're farther than we ever have been before. I'm gonna try a pry bar. Okay, we've got our first gear off. Has a oil impregnated bronze bushing in it. Feels pretty good. Let's see if we can continue to get these off. They're moving ever so slowly. Gonna do a quick inspection, make sure I'm not damaging anything. Doesn't look too bad. Okay, we've got our first one off, or second one off, I should say. There we go. Quite a bit of wear, but honestly, it doesn't look too bad. These engage like so. Boy, that feels good. Nice to see. See, that would have been like that because we have our shifting fork. Will go in here, and this will bring this gear forward into this. And then this is the surface. You can see here, this is the surface that machined a small wire on the end of our shaft. Those look pretty nice. There we go. I think this is first and second, maybe? I really need to review my old footage. I'm a little lost on this, but fortunately I have the videos to fall back on. I will drop a link to the first disassembly video of this transmission now. I'm gonna pull our final shaft out of the transmission. There it is. Looks pretty good. We have the shaft reassembled on the table. This is so I can remember how to put it back together later on and to show you how it looks now that we're outside. We'll take a quick look inside the rear end of the machine. Still got some bearings to pull, some seals to pull, and then I have the reverse idler shaft right up there to pull. We'll get started on that now. We'll bring you along. Here is a better look in the transmission compartment of the reverse idler. I'll try to spin this thing for you. It spins really, really nice. No backlash, forwards and backwards to speak of. I don't know, 5/10 thousandths maybe. Feels like. Could be more. It appears in the back end here we have a 3/8 bolt with a retaining clip, and then I believe that shaft will slide right back out this way, dropping the gear in the transmission housing. Let's get ready and let's do it. Ooh, boy. Not every day you need an 18-inch extension, but when you need it, you need it. There we go. How long do you think it's been since that's been out of there? Make sure to bag these Ricky Tick. I've got to reach my hand in the front transmission area and then pull the shaft out the back so I don't drop the gears down in. I don't want to scratch my Glipdol coating if I can help it. I'm gonna go nice and easy. Hopefully you can see it's coming right out. Need to check the front, make sure there's no shims falling out. I'm going to reposition you guys. There we go. Our reverser shaft right there. Or reverse idler shaft, I think they call it. I feel shims. I feel shims. Oh wow. We have a, I believe, failed needle bearing. It's a good thing we're in this deep. Needles are falling out right now. And we've got a shim hanging up. I was out of frame there, guys. I apologize. This has brass on the thrust side of the washer. Has a little locking tab here. Don't know how well you can see that. Hopefully these are still available from case. I really don't want to put that back in there. Looks well used. Here's a look at the reverse idler shaft. You can see we have some like spalling going on. You can barely feel it with your thumb. There is some grooving, but honestly this would run a long time. I don't care for that spalling right there. And if anyone knows what's the point of this flat-headed screw appears to do nothing. It's in there tight, it's not sitting there loose, but there's no rear adjustment. This hole goes all the way through, so perhaps they just needed to block this off and separate the rear end from the transmission somehow. But there's a hole in there to where they share oil, so that doesn't make much sense. Actually, I've got this sorted now. This piece, I think I have this figured out. You would leave your clip in, you would back this screw out, and you could put your slide hammer, thread it in there, and it is the extraction hole if the shaft is being stubborn. This one slid right out by hand, and then they have to plug this because if they did not, all of the oil that is deeper in the transmission, I'll show you in just a second, there is a small cup that gets oil slung up into it, then it goes inside the shaft and then is delivered to the needle bearing. I hope that makes sense. I'll show you the cup right now. Right here is the catching cup or tray. Don't know how well you can see it. And then this is the reverse idler shaft. right there. So oil would be slung into that, go into the shaft, and then it would lubricate your inner needle bearing. It's really neat to figure this stuff out, how they did it back in the day. I hope you guys are enjoying the progress so far. If you are, please remember to subscribe for more, hit the like button, subscribe, share the videos, all that good stuff really helps the channel grow. Let's keep plugging away at this. We're gonna go ahead now and pop our needle bearing out. Like I said, it's kind of coming apart, so bear with me. We have those out. Apologize for all the extra noise. Charlie has started across the shop, shining up parts. Again, guys, pardon the noise, but it was time to be in this transmission. Look at how loose the needle bearing is. There was really no way for it to come apart in there because it was completely encased in this. But just the amount of spalling we have on the needles, like that is some extremely, extremely heavy spalling, pitting, whatever you want to say. It's not really rusted. It's just the shiny, hard surface is coming off of the bearings, and that's putting grit in everything else. The grit would be able to be washed out of there through the oil and things like that. This bearing completely collapsed as soon as I pulled it out. This one still seems to be intact. It rolls fine, but wow. Not regretting going in this deep. If I'm not mistaken, this would be engaged full time, so this would be constantly spinning, and then once you would go into reverse, this is where they would grind. The Case 310, the older ones had what they called shuttle shift, which has a different meaning these days, but what that meant was you could go from first gear, pushing gear, to reverse without moving the transmission stick into another gear slot. So that's why we pick up all this extreme wear on these gears right here. Hopefully we can get these new. We'll see. Fingers crossed. I've got to run back over to the main shop and get my slide hammer. We have this large bearing race to remove. I think this is a seal, but it might stay in full time. I'm not sure. And then there's a bearing race on the far side. Let me stick you guys in there. You can see the bearing race. There is a large snap ring retaining that bearing, but that's just to help with in-play because there is a threaded nut out here that retains this. This kind of has a wheel bearing setup going on, if you will remember that far back. Let's go get the slide hammer. We are setting up the slide hammer. I will drop a link to this. I will drop a link to this slide hammer in the description below. It's been a really, really good one. Got to make sure that I'm not on that retaining ring. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that retaining ring because I'm just too paranoid about it. I don't want to damage anything or break a cast iron lip where the retaining ring rides rather. So let's go ahead and do that. No promises on camera angles on this one, guys. It's gonna be a little tight. I'm going to step away from this bearing for a minute. I know I can get it out by welding it, so I really don't have to remove that retaining clip, and I really don't want to damage the transmission housing in any way. So let's try to get this guy out of here. I kind of think there is a retaining clip holding in this upper bearing housing as well. That came out how it's supposed to, nice and easy. Yes, we have another retaining clip on the backside of this bearing, outer race, I should say. We may not remove him either, but I'm really glad I pulled this, because if I would have just stuck my puller in there and started yanking, I might have snapped that off, and then where are you going to find replacements? I would have to get a whole new housing probably, or have a machining company come in. I'm going to attempt to tap this top bearing out ever so gently. See if it's moving at all. Yeah, I think it's coming. There we go. Made in USA. And it is a Tyson bearing, made in USA. I don't know that I've ever seen a Tyson before either. A lot of mystery bearings in this transmission. We're gonna go ahead and try with a hammer and punch on this because it's a little more controllable than the slide hammer, but I still may need to weld this. Let's find out. It's moving, guys. But one thing I forgot, you'll probably rib me in the comments, safety glasses. Pounding on hardened punches, hardened bearing races, things chip off, fly in your eyeballs, and then it's really hard to drive bulldozers blind. I would give it a shot though. Safety first. Hey, we got it. We got it, guys. Oh, she's yummy. Any guesses on what this bearing is? Bower. B-O-W-E-R. Bower. Again, I'm not sure. I don't think I've heard of one of those either. I've dealt with a lot of bearings in my life, and Tyson, Bower, never heard of them. Incredible. Almost looks like we could have had some churning in the housing. It's a good thing we're in here. Normally a wheel bearing like this will not churn just because of the pressures that are exerted on it. It's a little different than like your standard roller bearing in a pillow block housing. Those will churn more easily, but a bearing like this won't churn as easy. It does happen, but that looks like it's indicative of churning, but it definitely came out tight, so we'll hit them with some Loctite green if we're worried about it. We have all of the bearing outer races removed. We did not have to remove the retaining rings or snap rings, whatever you want to call them. Went off without a hitch. Was able to use the punch and the hammer. This will conclude episode 32 of the Case 310G Bulldozer Restoration Project. I would like to thank everyone for coming along on the adventure today. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe below, and we'll see you guys next time.